The evening settles gently across the distant Sahel, where the landscape unfolds in endless waves of ochre earth, drifting dust and fading gold. Here, the sky feels immense, wider than language itself, stretching beyond any simple measure. As the sun disappears beyond the horizon, the first stars emerge one by one, like ancient flames being lit once more after a long silence. In this place, time seems to move differently. It does not rush forward. It lingers. It breathes. And within this quiet rhythm live the Dogon people. Their homeland rests along the towering sandstone cliffs of the Bandiagara escarpment in present-day Mali, where villages of stone appear almost woven into the rock itself, clinging to the cliffs like echoes of another age. Narrow paths wind between homes and terraces, tracing routes that generations have followed for centuries. As night settles over the escarpment, the air cools. The scent of dry earth drifts through the darkness, mingling with the lingering aroma of evening fires. Beneath the stillness, crickets offer their soft and steady chorus. Above, the sky slowly reveals itself, unveiling a vast tapestry of stars and constellations stretching from one horizon to the other. For the Dogon, these celestial lights are far more than distant points shining in the darkness. They are ancient companions, teachers, guardians of stories carried across countless generations. The elders tell of a time when the world was young and the heavens spoke through symbols. The stars guided the changing seasons, shaped sacred ceremonies, and helped define the foundations of belief itself. Their movements were woven into the rhythms of daily life, connecting the earth below with the mysteries above. Even now, in the quiet hours of the night, it is easy to imagine a storyteller seated beside a small fire. The flames flicker gently against stone walls, casting long shadows that dance in the darkness. Slowly, a calm and measured voice begins to speak. There is no urgency in his words, no desire to impress or astonish, only the simple act of remembering, preserving, and passing on stories that have traveled through the centuries beneath the same watchful stars. The storyteller's voice drifts onward, carrying the listener's attention towards Sirius, the brightest star visible in the night sky. For most people who look upward, Sirius appears as a single brilliant point of light, shining steadily above the horizon. Yet within Dogon tradition, the story has long been more complex. Their teachings speak of a hidden companion, a small but extraordinarily heavy star that circles Sirius in silence, following a precise and predictable path through the heavens. According to these traditions, this unseen companion completes its journey in approximately 50 years, returning again and again in an endless celestial cycle. Long before modern astronomers identified Sirius B, a dense white dwarf invisible to the naked eye, similar descriptions were already woven into the sacred knowledge of the Dogon people. This knowledge was not preserved in written texts or scholarly records. Instead, it endured through memory, ceremony, and oral tradition. Elders carefully passed these teachings to initiates, generation after generation, ensuring that the stories survived through centuries of change. Yet the tradition itself never seeks to persuade. It does not demand acceptance, nor does it insist upon certainty. It simply exists, resting quietly within the flow of time, much like a river that slowly shapes the stone through which it passes. As the darkness deepens and the stars climb higher overhead, the storyteller turns to another part of the tradition. He speaks of the Nommo, spiritual beings associated with water, creation, harmony, and renewal. Their presence flows through Dogon mythology like a gentle current, linking the origins of life to the greater order of the cosmos. The stories unfold calmly, without fear or sensationalism. They carry a sense of peace, reflecting an ancient understanding that the earth and the heavens are not separate realms, but parts of the same living pattern. When researchers and anthropologists visited the region during the 20th century, they listened closely to these teachings and carefully documented what they heard. Among the many traditions they recorded were references to invisible stellar companions, planetary movements, and observations concerning the motion of celestial bodies. Beyond the cliffs of Bandiagara, these accounts sparked widespread curiosity. Scholars, astronomers, and historians found themselves asking the same question. How could such detailed astronomical concepts have been preserved within an oral tradition for so many generations, without telescopes or modern scientific instruments? No single answer has ever fully satisfied that question. Perhaps generations of patient skywatchers accumulated observations over centuries, gradually building a remarkably sophisticated understanding of the heavens. Perhaps careful observation, repeated across countless lifetimes, can reveal more than modern assumptions often allow. Or perhaps the explanation lies somewhere between observation and symbolism, in a worldview where myth and knowledge are not separated into distinct categories, but woven together into a single understanding of existence. And so, rather than searching immediately for conclusions, the listener is invited to sit quietly with the mystery itself, allowing its questions to linger beneath the stars. A gentle breeze moves across the plateau. Nearby, the fire casts a warm glow, its light rising and fading in slow, steady pulses. The storyteller continues, his voice calm and measured, flowing like a quiet stream through the darkness. He speaks of how Dogon calendars, rituals, and artistic traditions often reflect the movements of the heavens. Wooden masks are carved with symbolic patterns that carry deeper meanings. Ceremonies are performed in harmony with celestial cycles, aligning human life with the rhythms of the cosmos. Here, the world of earth and the world of the sky are not viewed as separate realms. They exist together as a single woven tapestry, each thread connected to the next. The villages themselves seem inseparable from the landscape around them. Built into the sandstone cliffs, they appear as though they have grown naturally from the rock. The towering escarpment stands watch over the generations, preserving memories etched into pathways worn smooth by countless footsteps. The seasons pass with quiet certainty. When the rains arrive, they move across the land with patience and grace. When the dry season returns, the sky clears once more, revealing stars of remarkable brightness and clarity. And among them, Sirius continues its timeless journey, returning year after year, radiant and unwavering. The stories themselves move slowly. They leave room for pauses and moments of silence. For within these traditions, silence carries its own wisdom. The past is never entirely absent here. It lingers in the stones, in the wind, and in the vast sky stretching above the cliffs. As the fire gradually burns lower, the storyteller offers a final reflection for the night. His words drift into the darkness like glowing embers carried upward by the air. There are things we can understand. There are things we can measure. And there are things that simply exist beyond our ability to fully explain. Mystery is not something that stands against us. Rather, it walks beside us, inviting us to continue the journey. And so, as the echoes of ancient stories fade gently into the night, the stars remain overhead, continuing their silent and eternal watch. Eventually, a new day begins. In the land of the Dogon, dawn rarely arrives all at once. Instead, it unfolds gradually, like a slow breath drawn by the earth itself. The darkness softens into shades of grey. Then a pale glow emerges in the east, spreading across the horizon in muted gold. as though the world were awakening from a dream that has lasted centuries. Stone homes slowly emerge from the shadows, revealing walls shaped by generations of skilled hands. Narrow pathways wind between granaries, crowned with cone-shaped roofs, their familiar silhouettes standing quietly beneath the growing light. The village awakens through simple routines. Footsteps echo softly across the ground. Neighbors exchange greetings. Fires are prepared. Another day begins with the same steady rhythm that has guided life here for centuries. Yet amid these daily tasks, the sky remains a constant presence. For the Dogon, the heavens are never distant. They are like a language spoken across time itself. The stars, the changing seasons, and the patterns of the night sky form part of an ongoing conversation between humanity and the cosmos. It is a conversation that is not merely observed, but experienced. Tradition tells that when the first ancestors settled among these cliffs, they learned to listen deeply, not only with their ears, but with patience, awareness, and respect for the world around them. They came to understand that reality exists in many layers, that what can be seen is only one part of a larger harmony, and that wisdom is found not only in tools, measurements, or instruments, but also in careful observation carried out across generations. In this way, the sky became both teacher and companion. Beneath the shade of a great baobab tree, an elder sits among a circle of young listeners. His voice remains gentle and unhurried as he points toward the heavens. He speaks of the constellations and of the stars that appear at particular moments throughout the year, guiding the rhythms of agriculture, ceremony, and community life. The children listen quietly, just as countless generations before them have done, while above them the ancient sky continues its slow and timeless dance. The elder's voice continues beneath the shade of the baobab, guiding his listeners toward one of the most important stars in Dogon tradition. He speaks of Sirius, known among the Dogon as Sigutolo, a celestial presence that occupies a special place within their understanding of the universe. More than a brilliant light in the night sky, Sirius is seen as a marker of great cycles, a beacon whose movements are woven into the rhythms of tradition and memory. The elder explains that alongside Sirius exists an unseen companion, a small yet remarkably heavy star said to circle it in a slow and measured journey. According to tradition, this hidden companion completes its orbit over many decades, and its cycle is reflected in sacred ceremonies that occur only once within a generation. These ceremonies are known as the Sugui. The Sugui is far more than a festival or public gathering. It represents a renewal of knowledge, a reaffirmation of the connection between humanity, creation, and the unseen order that shapes the world. Through ritual, storytelling, and symbolism, each generation receives the wisdom passed down by those who came before. Approximately every 60 years, when the cycle returns, communities gather to honor the first ancestors, those remembered in tradition as the original recipients of sacred teachings concerning creation, balance, and the movements of the heavens. During these ceremonies, elaborate masks emerge from places where they have been carefully preserved. Their carved forms carry layers of symbolic meaning accumulated across centuries. Songs rise into the air. Processions move slowly across the landscape. Each step mirrors countless others taken by ancestors long ago. Nothing within the Sugui unfolds in haste. Like the stories themselves, its meaning develops gradually, revealing itself over time. Understanding is not rushed. It is cultivated with patience, much like a seed growing beneath the warmth of the sun. When historians, anthropologists, and researchers began studying Dogon traditions during the 20th century, Many were struck by the complexity and sophistication of this cosmology. They encountered teachings that appeared to contain surprisingly detailed descriptions of Sirius and its hidden companion. According to some recorded accounts, elders described a star so dense that it possessed an extraordinary weight despite its small size, invisible to the naked eye, yet present within their traditions. It was said to move around Sirius in a vast celestial cycle, measured not in months or seasons, but in decades. Years later, modern astronomy would confirm the existence of Sirius B, a white dwarf companion orbiting Sirius A. Though relatively small, Sirius B is indeed extraordinarily dense, containing a mass comparable to that of the Sun within a volume not much larger than Earth. Its orbital period, approximately 50 years, appeared strikingly similar to descriptions found within certain Dogon traditions. This convergence between traditional accounts and scientific discovery captured the attention of scholars around the world. How had such ideas become part of an oral tradition preserved for generations among the cliffs of Bandiagara? Many explanations have been proposed. Some suggest that centuries of careful sky observation gradually produced sophisticated astronomical knowledge. Others point to the possibility of cultural exchanges with travelers, traders, or neighboring societies. Still, others argue that symbolic traditions can sometimes resemble later scientific discoveries in unexpected ways. Yet no single explanation has completely removed the sense of wonder surrounding the question. Perhaps that is why the story continues to endure, not because it provides definitive answers, but because it occupies a rare place between certainty and mystery. It asks no one to choose between them. Instead, it rests quietly in the space where knowledge ends and curiosity begins, inviting each listener to linger there for a while beneath the stars. As the afternoon sun drifts across the cliffs of Bandiagara, the landscape seems to breathe with the weight of centuries. The sandstone walls hold traces of countless lives once lived among them. Ancient caves remain carved into the rock, while narrow ledges and forgotten foundations hint at homes that stood here long before the present generation. Walking these paths, one becomes aware of how closely the past and present coexist. Time does not feel divided into separate eras. Instead, it appears layered, each generation resting gently upon the memories of those who came before. Within the Dogon worldview, the spiritual and the physical are not distinct realms. They are parts of a single, interconnected reality. The structure of the universe reflects the structure of community, of nature, and of daily life itself. Order flows outward from the heavens, shaping rituals, guiding agricultural cycles, inspiring artistic expression, and influencing the countless small decisions that form the rhythm of everyday existence. Even the granaries that rise above the village carry symbolic significance. Filled with a harvest that sustains life, they are often viewed as expressions of the same cosmic balance that governs the movement of the stars. In this way, nourishment, community, and the heavens remain linked within a shared understanding of harmony and order. As the day gradually fades, the familiar transformation begins once more. The heat softens, the shadows lengthen, and little by little, the immense sky reclaims its place above the cliffs. Soon the stars return. The Milky Way stretches across the darkness like a luminous river flowing through the heavens. Constellations emerge one by one, occupying their ancient positions. Among them, Sirius shines low above the horizon, steady and brilliant against the night. Its light serves as more than a celestial landmark. It becomes a reminder of the vastness of the universe, the depth of time, and the enduring human desire to look upward in search of understanding. For thousands of years, people have gazed at the same stars. They have measured them, studied them, celebrated them, and built stories around them. Yet beyond knowledge alone, they have also searched for meaning. Nearby, a fire crackles softly in the darkness. Shadows move gently across stone walls, rising and fading with the flicker of the flames. The village settles into the quiet rhythms of evening, where sound and silence blend together in delicate balance. Somewhere beyond the firelight, a song begins. Its melody is slow and unhurried, carried gently through the night air. It is not performed for spectacle or entertainment. Instead, it exists as a natural expression of memory and belonging, connecting generations in the same way the stars connect one night to the next. Listening closely, one begins to sense a deeper truth woven through these traditions. Mystery is not merely the absence of an answer. It is an invitation to observe more carefully, to listen more patiently, to remain open to possibilities that may never fit neatly into certainty. And so, as the stories of the ancient world drift softly into the darkness, the sky continues its timeless conversation overhead, speaking in silence as it has for countless generations. Before long, evening settles once again across the land of the Dogon. The sun descends toward the horizon, painting the cliffs with muted shades of amber and bronze. Long shadows stretch across the earth, softening the landscape and guiding the day gently toward twilight. The air cools, and above, the first stars begin to appear. This is the hour when stories deepen, when children gather beside elders, when the crackling of the fire becomes inseparable from the storyteller's voice, and when the past feels close enough to touch, carried forward by memory beneath the endless African sky. Tonight, the storyteller turns his attention to the question of origins. His voice remains calm and measured, free of drama or urgency. Each word moves gently through the evening air, spreading outward like ripples across still water. Long ago, he says, before the first seeds were planted and before the earliest villagers appeared beside the cliffs, the universe existed in a state of hidden potential. It was a time of quiet possibility, a fullness waiting to unfold. From that primordial state came life itself, shaped by forces both visible and unseen. At the center of this ancient Dogon understanding stand the Nommo, spiritual beings associated with water, creation, and the ordering of the cosmos. Their story is not presented as fantasy, nor as something intended to inspire fear. Instead, it is shared with reverence, serving as a symbolic language through which deeper truths about life, balance, and existence are expressed. According to tradition, the Nommo descended from the heavens in a time beyond ordinary memory. They brought with them the principles of harmony, knowledge, and order, helping to shape a world that could sustain life. Their connection to water carries particular significance. For the Dogon, water is more than a physical necessity. It is the foundation of life itself, the element that nourishes, cleanses, and connects all living things. Just as water flows through rivers, through soil, and through the bodies of living creatures, meaning is understood to flow through the structure of the universe. Nothing exists in isolation. The stars above, the earth below, the villages along the cliffs, and the lives of those who inhabit them are all woven into a larger pattern whose design extends far beyond any single generation. The storyteller raises a hand toward the night sky. There, he explains, the movements of Sirius and its hidden companion reflect the same principles of order associated with the Nommo. The stars are not viewed simply as distant objects suspended in space. They are patterns of meaning, signs of a deeper rhythm written across the heavens. The steady cycles of celestial motion mirror the cycles found throughout nature itself. Seasons return, generations follow one another, the stars continue their silent journeys. Within this worldview, there is a profound sense that nothing is entirely random. Everything occupies a place within a larger harmony. This perspective also appears throughout Dogon art and symbolism. The Nommo are often represented through elongated forms, spirals, and flowing patterns. These shapes evoke both the movement of water and the graceful paths traced by celestial bodies across the sky. To an outside observer, such designs may appear abstract. Yet within the tradition, they communicate layers of meaning accumulated over centuries. They become a visual expression of cosmology, transforming complex ideas into forms that can be remembered, shared, and understood. Within these traditions, the concept of Sirius possessing a hidden companion is woven naturally into the broader structure of belief. It is not treated as an isolated fact or a remarkable curiosity. Rather, it exists as one element within a larger understanding of how the universe is organized. Its presence is accepted with the same quiet certainty as the changing seasons or the rhythm of a human breath. When scholars and researchers from outside Africa first encountered these teachings, many reacted with fascination. Accounts recorded during the 20th century noted descriptions of Sirius B that appeared surprisingly detailed, including references to its hidden nature, extraordinary density, and long orbital cycle. Some researchers even reported traditions concerning a possible third star associated with the Sirius system. Whether these accounts represent ancient knowledge, symbolic interpretation, misunderstanding, or coincidence remains a matter of ongoing discussion. The debate continues. Yet here, beneath the vast African sky, such questions rarely inspire argument. The teachings endure regardless. They live within ceremonies. They survive through memory. They pass quietly from one generation to the next, carried not through written records, but through spoken words shared at the close of day. In Dogon tradition, knowledge is not regarded as personal property. It is a responsibility. Elders protect it carefully, sharing it gradually as younger generations develop the patience, humility, and respect required to receive it. Wisdom is not measured by how much one knows, but by how thoughtfully one carries what has been learned. Because of this, the past remains remarkably resilient. It is not forgotten, it is renewed. As the evening story continues, the storyteller speaks of a time when balance within the universe was disturbed. In the traditions surrounding the Nommo, harmony was eventually restored, allowing the world to return to its proper order. This idea of restoration lies at the heart of much Dogon thought. The universe is viewed as something delicate, requiring care and attention. Balance must be maintained through awareness, ritual, and remembrance. Every ceremony serves a purpose. Every song preserves a lesson. Every carved symbol carries meaning. Together, they form part of an enduring effort to remain aligned with the deeper order, believed to exist within both the world and the stars above. The Great Sugoi ceremony, celebrated only once every 60 years, stands as one of the most profound expressions of renewal within Dogon culture. More than a ritual, it marks the turning of immense cycles, echoing the slow celestial movements associated with Sirius and its hidden companion. During the Sugoi, communities gather not merely to celebrate, but to remember. They honor the origins of their knowledge, their ancestors, and their place within a universe shaped by order and continuity. The cliffs resonate with chanting carried gently on the evening air. Sacred masks emerge in solemn procession. Each movement is deliberate, each symbol layered with meaning accumulated across generations. Nothing about the ceremony feels hurried. Its power lies not in spectacle, but in reflection. As darkness settles over the landscape, the Milky Way stretches overhead like a luminous river flowing across the heavens. Nearby, the fire burns softly, illuminating the faces of those gathered around it. In their eyes, flame and starlight seem to mingle. Perhaps one of the younger listeners wonders about the countless generations of people who have gazed upward before them. Across distant continents and throughout history, civilizations have mapped the stars, recorded celestial cycles, and shaped their lives according to the rhythms of the sky. It is almost as though the heavens speak a universal language, and each culture hears its own beautiful variation of the same enduring message. For the Dogon, that language includes the Nommo. It includes Sirius and its hidden companion. It includes cycles, balance, memory, and the quiet relationship between humanity and the cosmos. And the longer one listens, the clearer it becomes that this is not merely a story about astronomy. It is a story about connection, a connection between people and the sky, between the living and their ancestors, between knowledge and mystery. The storyteller falls silent for a moment. A pause settles gently over the gathering. Crickets continue their steady song. A cool breeze brushes the stone walls of the village. Somewhere in the darkness, a bird calls once before the night grows still again. Finally, the elder speaks. His voice is quiet and reflective. Not all mysteries, he reminds his listeners, require resolution. Some are meant to inspire wonder, and through that wonder, we find our place within the vast and silent order of existence. The fire burns lower, the stars remain, and once again the mystery settles peacefully beneath the slow passage of time. Far above, the cliffs of Bandiagara rise from the earth like weathered pages from an ancient book. Their sandstone walls stretch across the landscape, shaped by wind, sunlight, and centuries of memory. Along their ledges and at their base, villages rest in quiet harmony. Homes built from stone, clay, and would blend naturally into the terrain around them, as though they have always belonged there. When dawn arrives, it does so gently. The first light touches the upper cliffs, tracing lines of gold across the rock face. Shadows withdraw gradually, revealing courtyards, granaries, terraces, and pathways worn smooth by countless footsteps. The village awakens without urgency. Voices emerge softly. Children begin their day. The familiar rhythms of work and community return once more. Here, life and landscape remain inseparable. For centuries, the Dogon have adapted to this environment, cultivating millet in the dry fields, gathering precious water, and maintaining a careful balance between survival and stewardship. Their architecture reflects this relationship, rising from the earth itself and shaped by traditions older than living memory. The cliffs also preserve traces of those who came before. High upon the rock face, small openings mark the ancient dwellings of the Telem people, who inhabited these cliffs long before the arrival of the Dogon. Their homes cling to seemingly impossible ledges, suspended between earth and sky. Over time, the Dogon inherited this remarkable landscape, weaving their own stories, beliefs, and traditions into the same enduring stone. From the base of the escarpment, the sky appears immense. Free from the glow of modern cities, the stars reveal themselves with extraordinary clarity. Night after night, generation after generation, the heavens return in their familiar patterns. In this vastness, the Dogon learned to observe, to remember, to listen. They watched Sirius, known as Sigutolo, return in its season, bright and unwavering against the darkness. They followed the cycles of the heavens just as they followed the cycles of planting and harvest. For them, time was never measured solely by hours or days. It was measured through recurring patterns, the return of the rains, the growth of crops, the changing positions of the stars, and the great cycles that extended far beyond a single human lifetime. This understanding shaped every aspect of life. Wisdom was not something acquired quickly. It was cultivated slowly through observation, ceremony, and reflection. Children learned through stories. Adults learned through experience. Elders became living repositories of memory and tradition. Beneath the shade of large trees, conversations about crops, weather, family, and community unfolded within a broader awareness that human life formed part of a much larger order. The community reflected the universe, and the universe reflected the community. Sacred masks waited quietly within ceremonial enclosures, their carved forms carrying layers of symbolic meaning. Their designs echoed ancestral teachings, celestial patterns, and the continuing cycle of creation and renewal. At the center of many spiritual traditions stood the Dogon, the respected spiritual leader of the community. His role was not one of authority through power, but of responsibility through service. He acted as a guardian of tradition, a keeper of sacred knowledge, and a guide who helped maintain harmony between spiritual and earthly life. Within this calm and enduring framework, Dogon star knowledge found its place, not isolated, not sensationalized, simply woven into the larger fabric of existence. Researchers who visited the region were often struck by how naturally astronomy, spirituality, agriculture, and community life blended together. The sky was never viewed as separate from the earth. It was simply another part of the same reality. And though many conversations were recorded and studied, much of Dogon cosmology remains known only within the community itself, preserved through trust, initiation, and tradition. Knowledge is not displayed. It is protected. As the heat of midday settles over the plateau, the world grows quiet, the wind slows, sounds soften. Beneath the routines of daily life, one senses a deeper current flowing steadily through the centuries. A current of belonging, a current of memory, a current of connection. Then evening returns. Cooking fires glow softly within the courtyards. Conversations grow quieter. Above, the stars gather once more like ancient witnesses. Sirius rises again, brilliant and unwavering. Its hidden companion continues its silent journey, unseen yet ever present, just as it has through countless generations. One might imagine a traveler arriving here, drawn by stories of celestial knowledge and ancient mysteries. Perhaps that traveler would expect revelation to arrive dramatically, but instead they would discover something far quieter. A people living in harmony with their land, a sky observed with patience and reverence, a mystery that does not insist upon explanation. It simply remains, and in that gentle presence, both traveler and listener may come to realize that the deepest mysteries are rarely those that surprise us in an instant. They are the ones that stay with us, quietly, patiently, just beyond the edge of complete understanding. The night deepens. The stars continue their silent passage, and once more the mystery rests beneath the timeless flow of the African sky. There are moments in the life of a people that are measured not in days or years, but in generations. Among the Dogon, one such moment is the Segui, the great ceremonial cycle that returns only once every 60 years, arriving like a distant echo carried across the quiet landscape of time. The Segui is far more than a festival. It is a bridge between past and present, between ancestors and descendants, between the earth beneath the cliffs and the stars that shine above them. Through the ceremony, memory is renewed and the connection between generations is strengthened. Its arrival is never sudden. Like the slow appearance of dawn, the Sugoi approaches gradually. Preparations begin long before the first songs are sung or the first masks emerge from their sacred resting places. Elders watch the passing years carefully. They remember the stories entrusted to them. They reflect upon the cycles that have guided their people for centuries. Within Dogon tradition, these cycles are often associated with Sirius, known as Sigutolo, and the hidden companion believed to travel alongside it in the darkness of space. This connection is not proclaimed loudly. It is carried quietly through memory and tradition, protected with the same care one might give a small flame sheltered from the wind. When the time finally arrives, entire communities become part of the unfolding ceremony. Men who have waited decades for this moment take part in rites that mark their passage into deeper levels of understanding. Younger generations watch attentively, knowing that their own opportunity may lie many years in the future, perhaps not until their hair has turned grey and their lives have followed long paths of experience. The Sugoi moves gradually from village to village along the Bandiagara. Sometimes the ceremonies continue over several years, linking communities through a shared rhythm of remembrance. Along the way, sacred masks emerge into the light. Some are newly carved, while others preserve designs handed down through generations. Among the most recognizable is the Kanaga mask. Its distinctive form extends outward in balanced shapes that many interpret as symbolizing the connection between heaven and earth, between the visible world and the unseen forces that shape it. Yet despite the importance of the occasion, the atmosphere remains remarkably calm. There is music, there is chanting, there is movement, but none of it feels hurried or overwhelming. The dances unfold with measured grace, reflecting the cyclical rhythms found throughout nature and the cosmos itself. Knowledge during the Sugoi is not delivered through lectures or written texts. It is experienced. It is carried through movement, song, symbolism, and participation. The ceremony becomes a living classroom in which wisdom is absorbed not through explanation alone, but through presence. To witness the Sugoi is to stand at the meeting point of the symbolic and the tangible. Every gesture carries meaning. Every object serves a purpose. The staffs carried by elders, the carved masks, the ceremonial pathways, and the spoken narratives all reflect elements of Dogon cosmology and collective memory. And throughout it all, Sirius continues its silent journey overhead. Researchers who studied the Sugoi during the 20th century often noted the connection between the ceremony and long astronomical cycles preserved within Dogon tradition. Some suggested that the 60-year ceremonial rhythm may reflect beliefs associated with Sirius and its hidden companion. Whether these associations emerged through careful observation, symbolic interpretation, cultural transmission, or some combination of many influences remains a matter of ongoing discussion. Yet for the people who participate in the ceremony, the deeper significance lies elsewhere. It lies in continuity. It lies in remembrance. It lies in the understanding that human life unfolds within larger cycles, where the actions of one generation quietly influence those that follow. Families prepare offerings. Stories are retold. Patterns are traced carefully into the earth. Children watch from the edges of the gathering, perhaps not yet understanding everything they see, yet already absorbing something important. The seed of memory is planted, and over time that seed grows. Even the cliffs themselves seem to participate in the ceremony. Their ancient sandstone walls have witnessed centuries of voices, songs, and footsteps. The wind carries echoes of drums that pulse softly through the evening, their rhythm resembling a slow heartbeat beneath the stars. As dusk settles over the escarpment, Fires illuminate gathering places across the villages. Their warm glow reflects upon carved masks and thoughtful faces alike. A visitor arriving here might expect spectacle. Instead, they would discover serenity, not silence, but a deeper stillness born from shared understanding. For the Dogon, the Sugoi is also a renewal of ancestral memory. It recalls the first ancestors who, according to tradition, received the teachings that shaped the community's understanding of order, creation, and harmony. Through ceremony, those teachings are remembered once again. The world is symbolically realigned with its original balance. Just as the Nommo are said to have restored harmony during the earliest moments of creation, the Sugoi serves as a reminder that balance must continually be renewed and preserved. Night after night, the stars remain faithful witnesses. Sirius shines brightly above the horizon, while its hidden companion continues its silent orbit beyond the reach of human sight. Modern astronomy identifies Sirius B as a white dwarf of extraordinary density, a star whose existence was revealed through scientific instruments and careful observation. Yet, within Dogon tradition, Sirius has long occupied a place of symbolic importance that extends beyond measurement alone. How these different paths of knowledge came to intersect remains uncertain. And perhaps uncertainty is part of the story itself. Not every mystery asks to be solved. Some invite contemplation, some encourage humility, some remind us of the vast depth of human imagination and the remarkable ways knowledge can be preserved across generations. The fire burns softly, the chanting fades, the night grows deeper. Beyond the cliffs, moonlight washes across the open plains. A cool breeze moves through the grasses. Families gradually return to their homes, carrying the memories of the day with them. Inside, voices become quiet. Someone offers a final blessing. Someone else closes their eyes and listens to the sounds of the night. Above them all, the sky continues its patient turning. The stars remain where they have always been, holding their mysteries not as secrets, but as invitations. And so, as the echoes of the Sugoi drift gently into the darkness, the cycle comes to rest once more beneath the timeless passage of the stars. For countless generations, the Dogon people lived in harmony with their land and the vast sky above it. Their stories flowed through time like a quiet river, carried from one generation to the next through memory, ceremony, and tradition. Knowledge was shared carefully, spoken softly, and preserved through respect rather than written records. Then, during the early decades of the 20th century, the wider world began to take notice. Curious researchers traveled to the cliffs of the Bandiagara escarpment, bringing notebooks, questions, and their own ways of understanding the world. They came from distant countries, drawn by a desire to learn about the people who had lived for centuries beneath one of the clearest night skies on Earth. Among the most well-known were the French anthropologists Marcel Griaule and Germain Dit. Over many years, they returned again and again to Dogon communities. They listened to elders, observed ceremonies, studied symbols carved into masks and sculptures, and gradually built relationships founded upon patience and trust. Their work unfolded slowly. They learned local traditions, recorded oral histories, and sought to understand a worldview that connected daily life, spirituality, nature, and the heavens into a single, interconnected system. Through these conversations, the outside world first encountered detailed accounts of Dogon cosmology, stories of Sirius, stories of its hidden companion, stories of the Nommo, stories of cycles that linked the earth below to the stars above. Researchers recorded descriptions of a small yet extraordinarily heavy star associated with Sirius, invisible to ordinary sight and moving through a long celestial cycle around its brilliant companion. To many readers, these accounts seemed remarkable. By the late 19th century, Western astronomers had already discovered Sirius B through telescopic observation and mathematical analysis. They had determined that it was a white dwarf star, incredibly dense despite its relatively small size. The apparent similarities between scientific observations and certain Dogon traditions attracted considerable attention. As these findings circulated through academic circles, discussions quickly followed. Some scholars were fascinated by the depth and complexity of Dogon cosmology. Others questioned aspects of the research, suggesting that astronomical ideas may have reached the region through contact with travelers, missionaries, traders, or colonial administrators. Different explanations were proposed. Different interpretations emerged. The debate continued. Yet beneath the cliffs themselves, little changed. For the Dogon cosmology was never simply a collection of facts waiting to be compared with scientific discoveries. It formed part of a larger understanding of existence, where knowledge, community, spirituality, and responsibility remained closely connected. The elders spoke not only about stars, but about balance, not only about celestial cycles, but about how human beings should live within them. The stories carried meaning beyond observation alone, and so life continued. The seasons changed, the crops were planted and harvested. Children listened to stories beside evening fires. The stars crossed the sky in their familiar patterns. Meanwhile, the wider world continued to examine, question, and interpret. A doorway had opened between two different ways of understanding reality. Stories once shared within small communities began traveling across oceans. They appeared in books, academic journals, classrooms, and conversations far removed from the cliffs where they originated. Yet even as these stories spread, the heart of the mystery remained rooted in place. When evening arrived, families still gathered near small fires. Elders still spoke in calm, measured voices. The symbols carved into wood and stone continued to carry meanings deeper than their visible forms. The discussions taking place in universities and research institutions felt very far away from the quiet villages beneath the stars. At the same time, astronomy itself continued to advance. Scientists refined their measurements of Sirius B, learning more about its orbit, composition, and extraordinary density. What had once appeared as a faint anomaly became one of the most studied white dwarf stars in the night sky. Researchers discovered a remarkable object, a star compressed into a volume not much larger than Earth, yet containing a mass comparable to that of the Sun. Its gravity was immense, its structure unlike anything found in everyday experience, and still the larger question lingered. How had elements of Dogon tradition come to resemble ideas later confirmed through modern astronomy? Many possibilities have been suggested. Perhaps generations of careful observation revealed more than we often assume. Perhaps knowledge traveled along forgotten trade routes and cultural exchanges long before modern records preserved them. Perhaps symbolic traditions occasionally align with later scientific discoveries in unexpected ways. Or perhaps the answer lies somewhere between these explanations. No single theory has fully resolved the mystery, and perhaps that is part of its enduring appeal, because the value of the story may not rest entirely in finding a definitive answer. Instead, it reminds us of the remarkable diversity of human thought, and the many ways different cultures have sought to understand the universe around them. As evening settles once more across the cliffs, another perspective begins to emerge. The Dogon did not approach the stars as objects to be conquered. They approached them as companions, as guides, as reminders of a deeper order woven throughout existence. The cliffs remain as they have for centuries, ancient and enduring. The wind moves gently across the escarpment. The scent of earth and distant fires drifts through the cool night air. And high above, Sirius shines with unwavering brilliance. Beside it, unseen yet ever present, its hidden companion continues its silent journey through space, completing its orbit across decades while generations come and go below. Somewhere, a child lifts their eyes toward the heavens. Somewhere else, an elder sits quietly, reflecting upon stories heard long ago, and the cycle of listening continues. In moments like these, one begins to appreciate the fragile beauty of human curiosity. Across cultures, across centuries, across the immense depths of time, different ways of understanding the world meeting beneath the same sky. The night grows deeper. The villages become quiet. The stars continue their patient watch overhead, and once again the mystery settles peacefully beneath the slow and timeless passage of time. The night settles gently over the cliffs of Bandiagara. The fires burn lower now. Conversations grow quiet. One by one, the sounds of the village fade into the darkness, leaving only the soft chorus of insects and the distant whisper of the wind moving across the plateau. Above it all, the stars remain. They have watched over these cliffs for centuries. They watched as generations were born, lived their lives, shared their stories, and eventually became part of the memory of the land itself. Among those stars, Sirius continues to shine, bright, steady, unwavering. Its hidden companion continues, its silent journey as it has for countless decades, moving beyond the reach of ordinary sight while inspiring questions that have traveled across cultures and generations. Throughout our journey, we have explored traditions, ceremonies, symbols, and stories preserved by the Dogon people. We have followed the paths of elders who carried knowledge through memory rather than books. We have listened to tales of the Nommo, of cosmic order, of Sirius and its mysterious companion, and of the great Sugoi cycle that binds generations together. Yet perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the story is not whether every question can be answered. It is the fact that these questions continue to be asked at all. Human beings have always looked toward the heavens. Ancient farmers, storytellers, astronomers, children lying beneath the night sky. Across thousands of years, the stars have inspired curiosity, reflection, and wonder. The Dogon are part of that long tradition. Their stories remind us that knowledge can take many forms. Some knowledge is written in books, some is measured through instruments, and some is carried through memory, ritual, and the patient passing of wisdom from one generation to the next. The mystery of Sirius may never be explained to everyone's satisfaction. Perhaps future discoveries will provide new answers. Perhaps some questions will remain open. But uncertainty does not diminish the value of the story. If anything, it deepens it, because mysteries invite us to keep listening, to keep observing, to remain curious. And curiosity itself may be one of humanity's oldest traditions. The wind moves softly along the cliffs. The fires become embers. Families drift toward sleep. Somewhere, an elder finishes a story. Somewhere else, a child looks upward and sees the same stars that inspired countless generations before. The cycle continues. The stars continue. And beneath the vast African sky, the story of the Dogon rests quietly among them, not demanding belief, not demanding answers, only inviting us to pause for a moment, look upward, and wonder. The night deepens. The stars keep their silent watch, and once more the mystery rests beneath the quiet passage of time.